The urban market can be the most lucrative and the toughest for any property developer. I personally think you'd be off your rockers to make this into a one-bedroom flat. Tonight, two pairs of novice developers are launching themselves into this highly competitive market. But will they get it right? It might need underpinning. This one does look particularly bad. A return to inner-city urban living is one of the biggest lifestyle trends over the last 2 decades. Centrally located properties now command huge prices, but they also command big investment. Get this market wrong and it could cost you serious cash. Nowhere is this more true than in trendy Islington, central London. And it's here that both sets of developers are hoping to hit gold. On the one hand, Katie McCrum and Sarah Garrett are trying their luck in quiet, leafy Arundel Square. While a quarter of a mile away, fashion designer Marigold Charles and her fiancé, web designer Joel Peters, have chosen bustling, fashionable Upper Street.
We know what sort of young professionals like, we know that their tastes and their standards and what they expect, so understanding what young modern professionals are about and what they want will help us succeed in this market.
There can be serious money to be made, but here more than ever you've really got to buy the right property in the right location, but that's not as easy as it sounds. So it's just here, the flat, is it?
Just above the green and the deli.
So it's above a bar, it's actually next to a bar in both directions as well.
Yeah. And since we bought it, the licence has been extended to a 2.
Which is not great from your point of view, owning the flat above.
No.
And did you know that that was going to happen?
No, we took a risk and it happened.
You just have to bear in mind that it always is going to affect its value and its saleability, and that's something that if you take your eye off that for a few minutes, you can end up with a really big problem on your hands. This property's vibrant location is both its strength and its weakness. Yet despite the neighbours, Joel and Marigold still think this is a great place for a stunning, luxurious home. Oh, what an amazing space. So is this why you bought it? You fell in love with this space?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which for this area is quite a big space.
At 11,000 square feet, it is indeed an incredibly generous size for a one-bedroom flat. It currently has a master bedroom with an L-shaped lounge at the front, while at the back there's a bathroom and a good-sized kitchen diner leading onto a fantastic large roof terrace, which is a huge bonus for central London and will really add value. Joel and Marigold want to totally rearrange the layout to create the ideal dream of modern living, a huge open-plan reception room across the whole front of the flat. This means moving the bedroom to the middle of the flat and adding 2 new bathrooms, one of which will be an ensuite. But there are problems with this idea. For a start, the bedroom will only have 1 tiny window, which is inadequate for a luxury master suite. But more than that, they're just not capitalising on the huge space they have here. So it's going to end up as a big one-bedroom executive pad, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a lot of square footage here for a one-bed flat.
I think if we closed it off and put in a second bedroom and a hallway, it would start to feel very small very quickly. And the wow factor is the size, so that's why we want to keep that.
The space is very expensive around here, and yes, it's lovely, but it's a major luxury having this amount of living space for one bedroom. In Islington, square footage is like gold dust. And extra bedrooms will add tens of thousands of pounds to your sale price. But overlooking this isn't their only odd decision. To have a roof terrace with a flat in this kind of area, and that's a really major selling feature, isn't it?
Actually, we want to turn it into a conservatory and extend the kitchen out here and make it into a kitchen dining area. So we won't actually have that much roof terrace available as outdoor space.
Do you not think the kitchen's big enough as it is?
Yes, we do, but we wanted to utilise this space to the maximum.
How much have you got to spend on the conservatory? Because I'd have thought a decent conservatory out here to warrant this flat in this location is going to cost you the best part of 50,000.
Well, we haven't budgeted that.
What have you got?
We've got about 10 to 15,000.
10 to 15.
It's crazy to reduce this potentially profitable outdoor space, quite apart from the fact that they haven't even thought about how to afford it. In fact, I'm a little worried that they haven't put that much thought into the budget at all. Joel and Marigold purchased the flat for a hefty £320,000. They have an unrealistic budget of just £60,000 for the whole renovation. If they were lucky enough to sell for their asking price of £420,000, they'd make a profit of £40,000. I think this is an optimistic figure. In fact, I worry that they might not break even with this strategy. But looked at a different way, I think these two could have accidentally stumbled across a gold mine without even realising it. I personally think you'd be off your rockers to make this into a one-bedroom flat. And to make the most money on this, there is another option, and that's that you split it up into separate flats. Create 2 studio flats at the front, over the bar, and one bedroom flat at the back here, which means you'd get £550,000 resale on this, as opposed to probably 380, 390 doing that. What do you reckon?
It's controversial.
It's controversial. Our main reason for doing this is we are actually quite passionate about not splitting up properties into tiny pokey flats.
There's no reason why, with a very, very small space, you can't have a beautifully designed, really, really cool studio flat. It doesn't have to be horrible.
We don't have masses of time now to rethink our plans.
But you are above a bar, and smaller units that are cheaper units, people are kind of more prepared to just deal with the fact that they're above a bar. They're paying less. Yeah, that's the deal. This is a business. And it's not a business if there's no profit at the end of the year.
But literally, I think time is of the essence here. We've got 2 mortgages to pay, and maybe, unfortunately, we haven't really given ourselves enough time now to backtrack and rethink our plans.
When there's this much profit at stake, and £150,000 is a lot, then it really isn't too late to change your mind. I think Joel and Marigold could make 2 compact but very smart studios at the front, each with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the green, and a stylish 1-bedroom flat with a roof terrace at the back. Joel and Marigold have a fantastic opportunity to make an unbelievable profit, but they're just not working to the strengths of their location. Above a bar is not the best place for high-end luxury. A quarter of a mile away, in the more residential surroundings of Arundel Square, interior designer Katie McCrum and publisher Sarah Garrett are also targeting the stylish urban professional with their plans to create a desirable pad out of this 2-storey ex-squat maisonette. But as yet, they don't have the first idea how much work is needed, because they bought it in auction and didn't even view the property first.
This is the one.
Right. So you bought this in auction on the spur of the moment, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we did everything wrong. Everything you're not supposed to do in the book.
I think you should err on the side of caution in auctions, because whilst it is possible to pick up a bargain, it's really unusual, and if it's cheap, there's very often a good reason why it's cheap. Well, let's go and have a look inside.
And this was cheap for the area. Katie and Sarah paid just £250,000 for this maisonette and have a budget of £75,000 to do it up. They hope to sell for £350,000, making them a gross profit of £25,000. But they actually have no idea if these figures are realistic, as they've never been inside the place, and it certainly looks like it's suffering from its years of neglect.
It was squatted before, was it?
Yeah, apparently they didn't treat the place very well.
They had like 5 o'clock in the morning parties and barbecues.
It wasn't looked after at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And then downstairs bathroom, a bit of dry rot. Oh no, it's wet rot.
Not only is the inside appallingly damp, but outside I may have found the reason why this flat was put up for auction in the first place.
It's been moving around all over the shop, hasn't it?
In Arundel Square, Islington, Katie McCrum and Sarah Garrett had wanted to turn this 2-bed ex-squat into a des res for the urban professional. But buying blind at auction means they're only now discovering the whole back of the house has slipped dangerously.
There's ties all over the place. You can see all the lines of the brickwork has slipped. The header on the window slipped. They've tied it in all the way down the party wall there. On this side they've tied it in. There's another brace in the middle. But down here that looks like it's been repointed again more recently, so it's obviously still shifting. This one does look particularly bad. It might need underpinning. It's a question of whether it's still moving.
Is that something that can be quite costly? Or?
Yeah. I mean, it's not hundreds of thousands, but it's not hundreds of pounds. I think due to the amount of movement that clearly has happened, you need to have a structural engineer's report.
Can get that.
And the only solution to the way it looks cosmetically is to rebuild the back of the house, but that's going to cost you.
This is a total nightmare. If they don't deal with it, they might never be able to sell the property, but putting it right could cost thousands. Just down the road on Upper Street, Joel Peters and Marigold Charles could also be left severely out of pocket. They're developing above a bar, but have determinedly decided to keep this as a luxury one-bedroom flat, throwing away the chance to make a massive £150,000 potential profit.
To turn the property into 3 small flats goes against everything that we've actually felt strongly about on this project. For us, retaining as much of the feel of openness and space in this apartment is what I think will set it apart.
Which is all well and good, and in another location I might agree, but this flat is on a busy road, above a bar with a late licence. More worryingly, Joel and Marigold still haven't even looked into how much their plans are going to cost. They only have £60,000 in their budget, and when their quotations start arriving, it's a very rude awakening.
We've just got the first quote through. It's for £160,000.
It totally exceeds what we've got budget-wise to spend. I mean, just phenomenally. So there's absolutely no way we can even entertain that at all.
£160,000 is 2.5 times their entire budget. They haven't thought this through at all, and their budget is as unrealistic as any I've seen. For all the building work, including the conservatory, they've allocated a desperately inadequate £24,700. To replumb the entire flat, £7,000. For the electrics, £8,800. For a top-spec kitchen, just £5,000. To buy 2 top-of-the-line bathrooms, another £5,000. For painting and decorating, £1,500. For the roof terrace, a tiny £750. And for all their fees and costs, just £7,250. With just £60,000 in total, they've completely underestimated the amount of work involved here.
But we can reduce that if we don't.
So while they're forced back to the drawing board, all the building work has ground to a halt. After 3 long, painful months of redrawing plans and shuffling budgets, Joel and Marigold have finally found a way to push this development forward.
We decided to rethink the fact that it was a 1-bedroomed apartment, and maybe we should add in a 2nd bedroom. And also, we've decided not to go ahead with the conservatory.
Excellent. What a wise decision.
That's brilliant. And so how's your budget? The original costs in total was 60,000. Where are they now, do you think?
110.
110. Gosh. So now you're hoping you'll make some profit, but may well only just break even?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's quite a come down, isn't it?
If we say this is our first one, this is a learning curve. By our next one, we'll have got all our pieces of the jigsaw right. We'd have loved somebody to have come up and sort of given us a reality check right off.
I thought a reality check was exactly what I had given them. But now, to cover their mushrooming costs, they've had to put their own home on the market. I really wish they'd think again about the massive profit they could make if they split the flat into 3 smaller units. And this is such a great location because it's so central and it's really fashionable, this area. So you've got everything going for it, whereas at the moment, it's going to be touch and go whether there's any profit at all.
Definitely. We completely agree with you, but we're just not doing it.
But this is supposed to be a business. Joel and Marigold could still make a massive £150,000 profit instead of just breaking even. And it wouldn't have to mean throwing style out of the window. In this area, studio flats sail out of the door if they're well designed, chic and reasonably priced. They certainly don't need to be pokey or look cheap. Small spaces can be just as fashionable as larger units, and there's still a premium to be had for good design. In Arundel Square, Katie and Sarah have agreed to call in an engineer to look at the worrying signs of structural damage to their 2-bedroom maisonette. If he finds the house is still moving, then it will have to be underpinned, costing Sarah and Katie thousands of pounds.
What's the verdict?
It looks like that it's had some bomb damage. Is that you've had some, not recent, no, World War II probably, and you probably had a bit of shrapnel or a bomb take out that side of the house, of your neighbour's house. And that house holds up this house. The good news is that you haven't had any movement in the past 20 years or so. It's highly unlikely that the movement will occur again.
Woohoo! That's great news.
Goodness. I think we've been really lucky, and I wouldn't do the same thing again. I think, you know, it's really raised havoc on my nerves, actually. So I'm relieved at this stage that we're where we're at, and it's all okay right now.
On Upper Street, the good news is that the builders are back and work creating the 2nd bedroom finally begins. The bad news is that they need to save money. The budget has already nearly doubled to £110,000, and at this rate, Joel and Marigold will be lucky to break even. But this flat needs to look fantastic to stand a chance of reaching their target sales price.
The biggest challenge is really to get something very high specification without overspending.
And that's going to be hard. The Islington market expects the best, so they mustn't compromise on quality. But once again, their unrealistic budget has let them down. They've only set aside £5,000, but what they want is a top-of-the-range kitchen.
The price is extraordinary.
That 47 grand was actually what we intended to spend on the whole project at one point. So,
If you work out that this is our ultimate kitchen, and then we find the look and feel that we like from here, and then try and improvise.
when you look at the quality and the finish of what you get on something like this, you couldn't replicate that with £5,000.
Marigold's right. It is hard to do top spec cheaply, so they're going to have to be very clever about where they spend what little money they've got left.
The question really for us is, do we put in a very, very low-end kitchen in order to keep ourselves at that £5,000 budget, which isn't the market that we're aiming for?
This flat's got to be really spectacular to get someone to pay top whack for it.
I don't think you can afford to go for a really cheap kitchen in this. The only way of doing it is to find end-of-line, one-off, absolute bargains, ex-display, and you need to go with your sizes. That's the key, is to go with the size of what you want. You go in, if you see something, like, you have to buy it there and then, because there's no lag time, you can't order it. But it means that every weekend and every evening is going to have to be spent hunting down products at less price. But I don't think you've got an option at this stage.
But bargain hunting takes a lot of time and energy, and with the project already running behind, the strain is starting to tell.
It's really hard. It's hard making time, and all your weekends and all your evenings are spent researching and going around the shops and things, so it's full time. It's very demanding. We don't socialise anymore.
Their social life may be suffering, but I hate to think what their bank balance will look like if they don't get this project finished soon. But over in Arundel Square, work on Katie and Sarah's two-bedroom flat is making good progress. Sarah's leaving Katie in charge of overseeing the plans and build, but although she's an interior designer, she's used to working with bigger budgets of other people's money.
I usually go for the top end of things, and that's what I'm used to. So this is going to be a different experience for me in terms of keeping to a really low budget. So that's my challenge.
Their first decision towards keeping the costs down is to work as much as possible with the existing layout of their two-floor maisonette. With this property, this is absolutely the right thing to do. Upstairs, there's a kitchen, large living room and tiny second toilet, which they want to knock out to create a useful study area. This is perfect for the urban market, as is the plan to turn the shabby kitchen and living area into a contemporary open-plan kitchen, diner and living room. Downstairs, there's a small bathroom and two good-sized bedrooms. They're sensibly adding an ensuite bathroom to the front bedroom. At the back of the house, they're extending the master bathroom under the stairs. This will give it vital extra floor space, but Katie's decided there just isn't enough headroom.
How could you take this floor down, you know, like 20 centimetres, 30 centimetres into the ground? I think one of the main things I hadn't considered was that if someone was sort of 6'3" or 4", coming into this bathroom space is going to be quite a problem. So, I mean, I'm considering maybe chopping the floor down and making a step into this room, which is something that at this stage is a bit of a pain.
Yeah, this is the concrete, yeah, so you know, it's difficult to take it out, yeah.
Yeah. It's a big job, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know, it's huge.
Digging down would be time-consuming and expensive, and it's not something they've budgeted for. But Katie's instincts are right. A cramped bathroom could mean a difficult sale, so she needs to see for herself what a difference lowering the floor would make.
Now, what these people have done is that they've dug down and created a bathroom in what was once a coal hole. We've still got the arched ceiling. And actually, this is quite luxurious space. And I think with this kind of flat and with your kind of flat, it's really worth spending the extra thousands of pounds it does cost to dig down. And I know you're a bit worried about costs, but I think you'd agree this is worth spending.
I'm worrying about basic materials. So I was well aware of like price for kitchens, but not how much plasterboard costs, you know?
Right.
So that's kind of where I've slipped up, which is why digging down, even though I know it's the right thing, is quite frightening budget-wise.
With the sort of development that you're doing, which is very kind of urban, chic, cool, you can't really cut corners.
No.
And you need to spend what you need to spend.
Yeah, I think you're right. I definitely think that is the right thing to do. And having seen this, in my small space, it will make a huge difference as well.
Decision made, and 1 week later, the floor has been dropped. It might have cost £2,000, but it means this bathroom will have plenty of headroom and won't put anyone off.
I've dropped the floor 35 centimetres, and I think it makes a huge difference. And the whole room now looks a lot more spacious. I was very concerned it was going to hold up the sale of this house, actually, because obviously it's only going to be able to be a house for small people. So I'm really actually pleased with that decision.
To get the best sale price, sometimes it can be worth spending a little bit extra. And that's exactly what they've had to do in Upper Street, with Joel and Marigold's newly installed top-spec kitchen.
There was a lot of shopping around, and we did agonise over every single aspect, even though it might look like a very simple kitchen. To get that look was actually quite a lot of work. We've spent about £15,000 on the kitchen, and so going over by £10,000, it was a shock that that's how much kitchens cost. It would have been nice to put an amazing kitchen in for £5,000, but there isn't one out there.
5 months into their development, Joel Peters and Marigold Charles are way over budget on their luxury flat in Islington. And they've now discovered that their decision to move the master bedroom to the middle of the flat could be a big mistake.
We thought we would be able to drop the window and have a much bigger window in that bedroom, and we've now been told that we can't, that the window has to stay the same, so we're stuck with a small window.
Joel and Marigold have only just realised that they can't enlarge the window as it overlooks a neighbouring roof terrace. It's all part of the challenge of urban development. Not only is the flat surrounded by buildings, their roof terrace is overlooked by ugly, noisy extraction fans. And they've caught some builders installing yet another.
We would like the fans not to be facing into our flat.
You'd have to make a new box. I'd have to go and make it, so
right.
in the workshop.
There's nothing he can do.
Okay.
Getting all the surrounding fans removed is totally unrealistic, but this doesn't have to be a disaster. They could still turn this into a fantastic space without having to spend too much money.
Now, I wanted to bring you here for inspiration for your roof terrace. So, I mean, what's great about this is that they've managed to really dramatically screen the outside world. It does feel like you're in a really secret place here. You don't actually notice it from here, but actually that bamboo is screening out an awful lot. There's some pretty kind of unattractive lumps of backs of building which you don't see because of the screening. So that would be perfectly achievable in your roof terrace.
Yeah. Do you think a water feature is worth considering?
I think so, yes, because it is quite noisy at the back there, and it's something to distract the ear from the other noises as much as the plants are there to distract the eye from the other buildings.
Clever planting means you can create a wonderful sense of privacy, but it also means that you can choose which views you want to keep and which you want to lose. In Arundel Square, it's 3 months into the renovation of this 2-bed designer maisonette. But while they've managed to keep to schedule, they've been less successful keeping to budget. Katie's had to hit the discount shops for end-of-line designer fittings after grossly underestimating the cost of their building materials.
I think we're looking at probably quadruple what we originally thought, which has been pretty frightening. And it just means other things will suffer, and I've got to not let them look like it's suffered.
But their latest cost-saving idea is a step too far.
I don't think it's worth putting a fireplace in just for its look, and we're not really prepared to pay a fortune to get it fixed up. So that's automatically a lot of money off for us, off the budget. Close it, forget it even existed, and do something either side so it doesn't look like it's a fireplace.
Katie and Sarah are anxious to save money and keep the build moving on quickly, but losing the fireplace is a really bad idea. There's nothing for it but to take matters into my own hands.
Hi. I've brought a present. And it's not because I'm angry. Do you know what I want to do with this?
What?
Can you guess?
No. Oh yeah, you want to knock out my fireplace?
I do. I do.
I don't know if you can.
This room without a fireplace doesn't do it justice, and you can't afford to not have a really quite impressive and grand focal feature in this room, because otherwise it's a bit like a kitchen breakfast room. Whereas you put a fireplace, and this is very clearly the living room, and that area is the kitchen breakfast room. I think it doesn't matter how much it costs, you have to get one in there.
Well, I'm a little bit nervous about that.
It won't all fall down. There's no way.
Oh my God.
Beautiful. You look like you're going to cry.
It's like, whew, okay.
But it's the right decision.
The right decision.
A bit too late to go back now anyway.
In Upper Street, Joel and Marigold's grand plans and unrealistic budget means their financial situation has finally hit rock bottom.
At the moment, we're staying on one of Marigold's friends' floors, basically living out of a suitcase. We desperately need to sell our place to release the funds to actually continue with this.
With the situation so desperate, they really ought to be watching every penny. But they've become so personally involved with this project that they've lost all sense of reality and are now rewiring the whole flat with an expensive home entertainment system.
People, when they're coming home from their stressful jobs, can potentially just stroll into any room, put their favourite track on. And we feel that's a real added selling feature.
And in the right place, it might be. But they're £50,000 over budget, and this is yet another mad decision.
So this is the remote control?
This is it.
OK.
And it's just basically the latest thing to come out of America.
In terms of cost, this must be costing a fortune. A, the extra time for the electrician, extra cabling, and the unit itself. What are we talking about in total?
For a complete home cinema system with the speakers in every room, you're looking at around £10,000.
So you're spending £10,000 on a home entertainment system in your flat above a bar?
Yes. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that there was no excuse for people not to buy the flat.
I mean, in a £1 million penthouse, they would expect features like these, but I'm just not sure that your flat, being above a bar, the market will expect this, and it's a lot of money to spend on the off chance. It's going to be...
It's not the penthouse, is what you're saying.
No.
And that's very upsetting.
Yep. You're already 50,000 over what you were originally planning on spending. It's just such a bizarre kind of leap to go from where you are with your development to spending £10,000 on a home entertainment system. And will you at least consider not putting it in?
It's on order.
We don't want to be stuck with a property with a big mortgage. We want to shift it. And this, I think, is a way of doing that.
Well, let's hope so.
This is one of the worst decisions I've heard. Spending money they don't have on expensive boys' toys won't add any extra value to this development. Over in Arundel Square, Katie and Sarah are aiming to get the best finish they can without overspending. But Katie's made another cost-cutting decision too far. She's chosen a cheap laminate worktop for her smart kitchen, but as soon as it arrives, she realises it's a bad idea.
Everything else has been finished so beautifully, and then they'd come in here and say, what's that about?
Buyers spending a lot of money on an urban apartment won't be happy with a cheap high street worktop. And this is an area where Katie should really make some impact.
I think you want something that's a more natural product and a higher quality product, really. This is a reconstituted stone. It has the same effect as stone, but because it's only 95% quartz and 5% resin, it has much more consistency of colour, which I think looks more up to date, really. And for the sort of people you're appealing to, they're expecting very cutting-edge, new, modern designs, and this is cutting-edge.
What, in your opinion, for a property development would be the most appropriate kind of colour.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful, isn't it, together? Really. So I think that's a decision made.
It's the last of the big decisions they have to make on this development. And once the worktop's changed, it takes one final push before 17 weeks of hard work comes to an end. What was once a rundown ex-squat has been transformed into a fabulous cutting-edge urban pad. They needed to achieve a high-quality look, and that they've certainly done. And nowhere more so than the open-plan kitchen and living area.
This is spectacular. What a great job you've done. This is brilliant.
Thank you.
Are you pleased you put the fireplace in?
Yeah, it was the right thing to do.
Oh,
I think
good to see.
separates the two rooms so well.
It's very clearly a living room now, which is what you needed.
Yeah.
And the worktop's great. I think it was definitely the right decision to change your mind and go with this worktop. For the market that you're trying to appeal to, sort of urban, cool, young professionals, this is absolutely spot on.
What really sets this place apart is the attention to detail. The walnut flooring, vintage-style radiators, and great finish. Downstairs in the front bedroom, the addition of an ensuite is a real bonus, and the master bathroom feels much more spacious thanks to a lowered floor and a mirrored wall. What's more, they've done it all for just £1,000 more than they budgeted.
How much did you end up spending on the project?
About 76,000.
Gosh, so not very much over what you're expecting, really.
No.
So that's pretty impressive, I think. Do you have any idea what the flat is now worth?
350, 360.
If it's worth what they're hoping, they'll make a profit of £34,000. But will the agents agree?
Very smart, modern.
More height than normal in the bathroom, so I guess the floor's been lowered slightly here. Then we've got the study area, which is ideal for anyone that's working from home.
Wow, it's a great sized room in here. Open plan living is very popular at the moment.
Very high quality wooden flooring as well, finishes it beautifully. I would value this property at £380,000.
I would recommend an asking price of £385,000.
The valuations came in at £380,000 and £385,000. Oh. If you did sell at the average of those two valuations, you would make a £56,000 profit.
I think we're going to have to go out and celebrate and spend all our profit.
The only way I could fault this entire development is the fact that you did buy it in auction blind. And that was a massive, massive punt.
We won't ever do it again.
Oh my God, it was just dreadful.
So you'd never do that again?
No, not like that. I would buy an auction again, but not just by looking through the window.
Despite the nail-biting risk of buying at auction, Katie and Sarah have made a fantastic and well-deserved profit. Unfortunately, in Upper Street, it's a very different story. They're 5 months over schedule, the money's run out, and they've had to resort to their credit cards to finance the rest of the development.
I mean, our goal at the moment is just to get it completely finished, and we want to do that as quickly as possible now, because the longer that it's taking to finish, the more it's costing us, and we just need to get it valued and put on the market and make sure that we've made some money on it.
But at what is now a massive £70,000 over budget, I think these two would be lucky to break even. On Upper Street in Islington, it's been a very long, drawn-out 8 months, and Joel and Marigold have spent every penny they have. But their development is finally finished. The place is unrecognisable. A scruffy, dilapidated old shell has made way for a luxurious two-bed modern apartment. They've created the huge open-plan living space they wanted, stretching right across the front of the building and fully wired with the latest in high-tech sound systems. Everything looks great, but unnecessarily extravagant.
So the entertainment hub of the flat then in here. Great, this is lovely.
Yeah, we really love this room. It's worked really well with the view out onto the green and the big windows and the lights.
Yeah.
This is my favourite room.
Why is that?
Just because it's a space that sort of epitomises why we got this.
It's not your boys' toys.
And that as well.
At the back of the flat, the kitchen diner is an equally light and generous space. Spending a bit more money and getting the high-spec units was the right decision here, as they give the clean, modern feel the urban professional market demands. And they've capitalised well on having the rare benefit of outdoor space.
Oh, what a fantastic, successful space. Isn't that great?
I felt really strongly about the planting, and Joe felt really strongly about the water feature.
It really works out here. I think you've managed to draw the eye back into the roof terrace.
Yeah.
It's a real success. Well done.
Another good decision was to create a second bedroom which will add much-needed thousands to their asking price. On the other hand, the master bedroom is not quite so successful. That tiny window makes it rather dark.
We like to think that if you want a bit of light, you've got the terrace, you've got the lounge, you've got the kitchen, and you come in here to relax, and the lighting can be a bit more moody and low level.
It's a seductive light, isn't it?
Seductive room.
Or just dark.
But for any room to be less than perfect could compromise Joel and Marigold's asking price, and having spent so much, they can't afford for that to happen.
Now, you paid £320,000 for the flat and you were expecting to spend £60,000 on it. How much did you end up spending?
We ended up spending 140.
Gosh, so £80,000 over your initial £60,000 budget. How have you found an extra £80,000? You got an extra
credit
mortgage?
cards and loans.
So you're hopped up to the eyeballs now?
Absolutely.
They went over in almost every area. Labour and materials went from £24,700 to a whopping £46,550. Plumbing and electrics rose over £1,000 to £16,850. The kitchen and bathrooms came in at £20,430. Painting and decorating increased to £2,750, even though they did most of it themselves. The roof terrace went from £750 to £3,500, which was money well spent. But the entertainment system was a non-essential extravagance at £10,000. Their fees soared from £6,000 to £39,700, taking their total spend from £60,000 to £139,780, more than twice their original budget. With such a big overspend, Joel and Marigold are in real danger of making a loss. Just to break even, the agents would need to value this place at £460,000, £40,000 more than they'd originally hoped for.
Great location, slight negative, just above a bar.
It's okay, lacks a little bit of natural daylight.
Perfect for Islington Market, high spec, fantastic for entertaining.
I value this property at £400,000.
I'd value the property at £400,000.
We'd value this property at £435,000.
If you did sell for an average of those, which should be £412,000, it would be a £48,000 loss. How do you feel about those valuations?
I I think they're interesting, and I think they do reflect the fact that it's very difficult to value this property. It's unique. I think they are a little bit low. We would definitely consider getting a few more valuations. There is a buyer out there who will fall in love with this space and want to buy it. I simply don't believe that we're going to lose money.
They're still wildly over-optimistic, but I don't think that there's any way anyone's going to love it enough to pay £48,000 more than the valuations.
This is gorgeous. This is one of the nicest, I think, outdoor spaces we've seen.
Yes. The space is really good. I like this space.
There's not much natural light that's going to be coming in.
Lovely big tall windows at the front.
Yeah, those windows are gorgeous.
I like the way it's set out. It's got good space. I can entertain people.
The bar probably downstairs might be a bit...
Yeah,
if it's
that'd be handy
as well. It'd be handy.
But then annoying if you were staying in.
Yeah.
Joel and Marigold were determined to make this into a luxury top-end apartment, but its position was always going to work against it. Ignoring this fact was a very high-risk strategy.
Is there a bit of you that regrets not turning it into 3 flats and making a great fat profit on it?
I mean, we know that we've spent over, but I do feel that we've achieved what we wanted to do, which was create something absolutely beautiful. I personally think we've done a fantastic job.
I mean, I think that the lesson to learn, if you are planning on doing another development, is that developing is about 3 things, and that's 3 figures. One is what you buy it for, the other is what you spend on it, and the other is what you're going to sell it for. And I personally think you got all 3 wrong with this development. That you bought it for too much money, you underestimated how much it was going to cost to do, and you overestimated what you're going to be able to sell it for. The important thing is not the way it looks, because it looks great, it's getting those 3 figures accurate.
Joel and Marigold may not have got their figures right, but over in Arundel Square, Katie and Sarah had a more realistic budget and are reaping the rewards. 3 days after putting their place on the market, they sold for a massive £399,000, making a whopping £74,000 gross profit. Marigold and Joel, on the other hand, have decided to move in and hold on to their place until the spring, in the hope that they can raise the selling price.
Successfully developing for the urban market is far from easy, but if you get it right, it really can pay. The key, as always, is to buy at the right price and make sure your plans are right for the location.
Next week, 2 shoestring developers try to make a little money go a very long way.
Do you have a schedule of works? That's it?
That's it, yeah.
Cool. Well, that's clear. There's only 5 things to do, so you're laughing. 1 a day, 5 days?